Yeah, how y'all doing? So let's talk about CM Punk's WWE career, 2006 to 2014. I'm going to skip a lot. I'm just going to hit some things that I feel like are really important. I'm not going to go through detail by detail, obviously, because we'll be here absolutely forever. So CM Punk for like 2 or 3 years on the first on the in the main roster. He was in OVW for a while. He was an absolutely colorless, almost zero personality babyface. So from like 2006 to like 2008, he did fuck all nothing. Okay, so he did do. Now I shouldn't say he didn't do fuck all nothing. He did something. He did. He had an amazing feud with John Morrison. I am effusive over how much I love the matches between John Morrison and CM Punk on ECW when it was on Sci-Fi. A lot of people hated WWE CW, and rightfully so. A lot of it was trash. But when they started putting a lot of focus on the young guys, the stars of the show were Morrison and CM Punk, and you actually got to see them actually work. They when they were on pay per view, and I remember this story vividly. CM Punk talking about this story of Morrison and Punk having a 6 minute match on pay per view. He talked about how horrible it was because they were trying to rush and do everything that they was doing on ECW, where they were having actually better matches, but they was rushing through it because they were on pay per view. I think they got their time cut, and WWE just didn't give a shit. So they kind of like fucked them over, and they was not allowed to do anything. But they had some really really good matches on ECW, and that was the best thing about CM Punk being on ECW. Everything else about him being on ECW was absolute fuck all nothing. Just none of it meant anything, and it actually showed me how good Morrison is. But let's not talk about that. So he moved to Raw, and when he moved to Raw, you saw how terrible. Like CM Punk was absolutely nothing, absolute nothing. Like he had like for starters physically, you started seeing sort of the skinny fat, how small he was. It became very obvious how small he was when he was on Raw. His body type was not up to par. How ratty and dirty he looked. He just looked like he did look like an outcast. He didn't look like a WWE superstar. And even though this is where he kind of started building some success, when he won like the Money in the Bank and stuff like that, none of that shit seemed to matter. Like he won the Money in the Bank, that was a pretty big thing. People was I was I thought CM Punk was cool at this time, but not cool as in, oh shit, did you see blah blah blah. I thought it was dismissively cool. Like, hey, did you see CM Punk? Like, yeah, he was cool. Kind of like that. Like, yeah, it's all right. I wasn't the ROH guy that was mesmerized by how great he was and how great his matches with Samoa Joe was. And I actually did see those, by the way. Like, it was a rare occasion that I actually saw somebody on the Indies before they came to WWE. So I actually saw those matches and I was like, oh yeah. I still thought he was like, that was cool. I didn't get it. I was kind of like, all right, whatever. And but on Raw, man, he was awful. It was awful. Like, when he won the Money in the Bank, I thought that was cool. Like, legit cool, because I thought he was actually going to be doing something. Then when he became the World Heavyweight Champion, he became the most irrelevant World Heavyweight Champion ever. I had never seen anybody in any company, including fucking David Arquette, become a more worthless World Champion than CM Punk. It was fucking awful. He not only was not the A story on Raw, he wasn't the B story or the C story. As a matter of fact, who the fuck did he wrestle as the World Heavyweight Champion? I think he wrestled Bradshaw one time or twice, or something like that. And I think one of those was a disqualification. I think he also wrestled Batista, probably once. That was it. He did nothing as the World Heavyweight Champion. And of course, they took the title off of him by kicking him in the head. And he can't defend his title because he got kicked in the dome. So they take the title off of him. He was the most worthless champion ever. Was it his fault? No. I mean, he should have quit right then and there, if we're going to be honest. Okay. That would have been the single most frustrating thing. I would have been so fucking mad if you made me the world champion. Then I'm like the eighth most important motherfucker on the roster. And you take the title off of me without even me getting beat. Like, it'd have been one thing if I'd have won the title in a cheap fashion. He won it in a weak Money in the Bank fashion. And then you show that he was a paper champion by getting beat in his first title shot or something like that. And then you could have told that story that he reached the mountaintop, but it was too easy because it was the Money in the Bank, and now he's got to start all over again. But they had him hold the title for what it seems like, I don't know, maybe 2 months or something like that. I might be exaggerating with how long it was. And he did nothing. Like he did nothing. Nobody even cared about the title while he had it. And that's how you know when a champion is sucks. When somebody is the champion and nobody cares, then you have a problem when we have a problem with who your champion is. Because that's sad. When you have big stars on the roster and they're like feuding with each other, they care more about their personal issues than the title. That's kind of fucked up. And then he had some good matches with William Regal on Raw. He won all the titles while he was on Raw. He won the tag team titles. He was with the tag team with Kofi Kingston. I really don't care about tag team stuff. Plus, they were a colorless babyface tag team that really meant nothing. He had a really good run with William Regal, though. Like, he had a couple of good matches with Regal, especially the King of the Ring finals. That was really good. And they had matches for the Intercontinental Championship that were really good. But CM Punk was a worthless Intercontinental Champion, too. Now, I remember the match where he won the title. I don't remember the match when he lost it. And don't lie and say you remember it either, because you don't. Nobody fucking remembers who the fuck beat him for the title. And I'm not looking it up. I never look up this stuff. I do take notes, but I take notes mostly from my memory and from things that I paid attention to. I didn't do like deep research because that shit gets kind of boring. But ultimately, I don't remember him being the Intercontinental Champion. Like, I remember him winning the title. Don't remember him doing anything with it. He was worthless. Now, when he moved to SmackDown, things got better because he won the Money in the Bank again and he was able to turn heel. And this is where he actually started having a personality, because this is where you start introducing the straight edge character. And the straight edge character is kind of annoying. That's kind of the point of the character. But he found fucking gold with feuding with Jeff Hardy. This is where Jeff Hardy is actually one of the most interesting and dynamic characters in the business, is that he always lends himself to the drugs and the alcohol and how dangerous that lifestyle is and how people can get heat off of that storyline. And that really put CM Punk on the map, because if Jeff Hardy had not been there, I have no idea how he would have actually been able to get over the straight edge society and all that type of stuff. But the feud with Jeff Hardy was great. And he finally got to main event at pay-per-view. He main evented, I think, SummerSlam 2009? Well, 2009? Or was it 2010? It was one of the two SummerSlams. They had the TLC match or something like that for the main event. And it was great. He got to send Jeff back to TNA. He beat him in that. He did this great skit where he actually wore like Jeff Hardy's paint. And it kind of tell you that, it was kind of hard to tell them apart, except for, we had the arm sleeves and everything. That was a great run. He was having a good run on SmackDown. He had some matches with Undertaker. His first couple of matches with Undertaker as a sort of a smarmy, mouthy heel. He had the submission matches with Undertaker. He was really kind of finding his stride on SmackDown. And I don't know what it is about SmackDown that it kind of brings out the talent in a smaller, maybe because it's less, what's the word I'm looking for? Star power, and usually when there's little star power, there's more room to grow. And SmackDown always offers that sort of thing for a talent. But it was great when he was on SmackDown. That SmackDown run was pretty good. He had, that great run with Jeff, had those good matches with Undertaker, and then they moved him back to Raw. And nothing. 2010. Well, no, because 2010 was he still on SmackDown for 2010? I don't remember. Like I have here that the Straight Edge Savior was in 2010, but I don't know if that's right or not. But whenever the Straight Edge Savior was, when he grew the Jesus beard and he started feuding with Rey Mysterio. Now this was some of the best stuff he's ever done, and this to me is better than a lot of the stuff he started doing after the pipe bomb. Is the Straight Edge Savior was legit good shit, and you had the feud with Rey Mysterio, where he just kind of wanted Rey Mysterio to join his cult. And the crazy thing is, as I'm recording this video, they're doing the exact fucking thing with Seth Rollins. Okay, so, I don't like that, and it's almost the exact gimmick. Like, Seth Rollins is doing almost the exact same gimmick as CM Punk was doing when he did the Straight Edge Savior. And doing the Monday Night Messiah, which goes to show how creative actually is, right? Where you just kind of rerunning the same gimmicks again and again. With the same characters, by the way. With guys with the same look, The guys came from the same company, but and they both was fighting Rey Mysterio. But it was great. You know, he did. He sang "Happy Birthday" to Rey Mysterio's daughter, which I thought was fantastic. I thought that was so creepy. And he shaved Sarita's head, and he had Gallows with them. That was fantastic, man. They did the hair versus mask match. Oh man, that was one of my favorite matches. I actually was starting to like CM Punk at this point. Like I didn't give a fuck about him until the feud with Jeff Hardy. Like I said, he was dismissively cool. He was like, that's cool. Like, seeing a kid juggle or something, like, yeah, that's cool. Get the fuck out of here. But he was legit good at this point. And then he went to Raw. I think it was like 2011, 2012. That's when he was injured. He did the Nexus stuff, which was nothing. There was no point to that. But it kind of planted the seeds for his cult idea that he was, kind of continued the cult thing, because, he had already lost his hair and he had lost the Straight Edge Society. So he was kind of building a new cult with the Nexus. And, him adding him to the Nexus fucked it up. The Nexus is already dead. Don't get me wrong. It was already fucked up. But he made it worse. Like, that was not good stuff. Because they was doing, like, torture and, like, hazing. And I usually don't mind, like, when you have a mentor hazing talent on TV. I usually don't mind it. Actually, I think it's important. And they're kind of doing that too now with Timothy Thatcher. They're doing, Timothy Thatcher is like this tyrannical wrestling trainer. He's kind of like Stu Hart in the dungeon, going overboard, pretzeling people and stuff like that. So they're doing a lot of CM Punk stuff. But I thought I didn't think anything about CM Punk being in the Nexus. So he was doing commentary, which he's actually pretty good at. And then the pipe bomb happened. So now my thoughts on the pipe bomb was, it was basically just him breaking the fourth wall. And yes, that works. Of course it works, because it made him a huge star, gave him a big personality as far as being an anti-authority babyface. Even though he was supposed to be a heel. And that's the crazy thing about the pipe bomb, right? Is that it was supposed to be a heel promo, as he talked about John Cena being this privileged kid. But he also, when he veered off into going against the McMahons, that made him like a huge babyface. So then he had the one of WWE's few 5-star Meltzer matches with Cena, which I thought was a fantastic match. And then I started liking CM Punk at this point. I was like, okay, this guy's good. He disappeared for a while, came back, had a great match with Cena at SummerSlam, and then for some reason he ended up in this feud with Kevin Nash and Triple H. Like, I didn't understand that shit at all. I'm sitting here like, what? And today, I have not gone back and watched any of this stuff. I did not see Triple H and CM Punk until like 2 or 3 years later, when I got the Night of Champions DVD. And even though I knew he lost that match, I was kind of like, now I'm not a mark for wins and losses. I'm not a guy who's going to get too upset about wins and losses, but it's kind of strange that you would have Triple H beat CM Punk in that match. That literally made no fucking sense. Even though they kind of cheated him, like, yeah, you screwed him over. No, you don't beat CM Punk in that environment at that point in time. And that kind of became the story with CM Punk, right? Is that he would go against these old heads in the Attitude Era, and they would beat him. Like Triple H beat him, Brock beat him, Undertaker beat him. Like, it was kind of like he didn't get Rock beat him. He didn't get a win over any of these guys. He was in the matches, which I guess is part of the rub. You get the rub by being in the match. He didn't get to beat anybody though, so that was kind of fucked up. But I think he beat Undertaker once or twice when he was on SmackDown. But this is when he started veering off into nothing. When he got beat by Triple H, and they kind of tried to save it by putting the title back on him. So he won the title back from Alberto Del Rio at Survivor Series. Really good match. He had some good matches with Del Rio. And this is when you had the 434-day title run, which was, pretty good. Most of it was babyface run, him beating just various challengers, Dolph Ziggler, Chris Jericho. Oh yeah, he did get a rub by beating Chris Jericho. But, the feud with Jericho was okay. It wasn't as intense as it could have been. I could tell like they had the limiters on them. Like, of course, since then the stories have come out of all the things that they wanted to do that they wouldn't let them do. And yeah, I get that. But it just felt like something was missing as far as I'm concerned. But they had some good matches together. They had that cool street fight. The WrestleMania match was really good. The street fight was good. I think the street fight was at Extreme Rules. I'm going off memory, and my memory is like an 80-year-old man. But I remember those matches being pretty good. And then he turned heel during his title run. But this is the crazy thing, is he turned heel for a good reason. He turned heel because The Rock has showed back up. And The Rock and Cena and all these guys starting to take the spotlight off of him. He's like, I'm the champion. I should be the spotlight of the show. And it kind of played off of him being the world heavyweight champion just a couple of years before, where he was the world champion and nobody gave a shit. He was now taken back. He was saying, hey, I'm going to, turn on The Rock, beat up The Rock, and I thought that was cool. Because I love it when people turn heel for good reasons. Like when somebody turned heel or babyface for a good reason. It should always be a good reason. But sometimes the good reason is just a reason. This was legit. The Rock is trying to outshine me. He's trying to show me up. Fuck him. I'm the star. You're a Hollywood actor. Get the fuck out of here. Now, of course, that was setting up their match at Royal Rumble. But up to that point, now this is where CM Punk actually starts to really kind of find his groove, because now he's a heel again, but he's the heel champion, and he falls into the Ryback pit. Now the Ryback matches, I did not care for Ryback. Like I didn't hate him like everybody hated Ryback. I just didn't care. Like when I saw that he was going to wrestle CM Punk in that Hell in a Cell match, I thought, okay, well, Ryback's going to win the title. It makes sense. He should have won the title. I mean, why else would you have him in the match if he's not going to win? This is the same match that they debuted the Shield. So is it? No, they debuted the Shield at Survivor Series, I think. Was it Survivor Series or was it Hell in a Cell? I forget which one. But one of those Ryback matches, they had a triple threat match too with John Cena, and the one when the Shield debuted, and they kind of teased that CM Punk was with the Shield or the Shield was with him. And of course, we find out later that CM Punk actually put the Shield together. Well, he picked 2 of the 3 members of the Shield, and that eventually they were going to be with him. And then, he kind of hit the skid. I guess at this point, CM Punk's ego had his real life ego, even though he already had one, had reached like the zenith. Like he really thought he was like the shit now. And he went against The Rock and got beat. Now, I didn't care for the first match with The Rock. I didn't care for it because I don't like when matches are restarted. Like he pinned The Rock or whatever. If they were going to do a rematch at Elimination Chamber, they should have just had CM Punk win that match. And then The Rock say, no, I got cheated. I want a rematch. Then they do the match at Elimination Chamber and The Rock wins the title there. That would have been dope. That would have been fine because you would have got CM Punk to survive The Rock match and would have made him look like a big star, like one of the biggest stars. And then you would have had him lose the title in the rematch. But them taking the title off of him, and then they debuted a new belt, where they got rid of the spinner title after The Rock won it, which was symbolic, right? Like CM Punk was the last spinner champion. But I thought the feud with The Rock was good. Some of the setup lines and your arms too short to box with God. I'm like, okay. I like that they put him in the spot. Of course, he still looks small because The Rock is huge, and sometimes Triple H is also pretty big. So like that was kind of another thing with CM Punk is you also had that visual of whenever he would do the big dramatic stare down with somebody, he seemed really small and not. But he also was pretty intense at the same time. Like Daniel Bryan also looks small when he does because he is small. But Daniel Bryan looks like, I don't know, he just looks like a guy who will fight you, while CM Punk looks like a guy who will talk you to death. Like there's something different about that stare down. Like when you see the visual of CM Punk staring down somebody and the visual of Daniel Bryan staring down somebody, there is a little bit more credibility to Daniel Bryan staring down people. And I don't know why. I don't know why that was, because Bryan is even shorter than Punk, and he's pastier and beardier, But there was something about Punk that it was just weird. So they had the really good feud. The CM Punk Rock, even though I didn't really care for the matches. I haven't seen the matches in a long time, actually. I might watch them back. But I didn't really like the Royal Rumble match because, again, they did the Dusty finish where CM Punk gets the pin, and then The Rock is like, no, we got to restart the match. And it was stupid. Then he had the Undertaker match. that feud was fucking awesome because CM Punk actually got to sink his teeth into the Undertaker feud. You know, with him just being the most disrespectful dude of all time. It was like it was great and it was fitting. A lot of people were upset because Paul Bearer had just died and they were doing Paul Heyman was mocking Paul Bearer, and CM Punk was mocking the Undertaker, but the match ended up being amazing. Of course, I was really a big fan of that. I watched that match at least once every couple of months. I really enjoyed because I'm a big Undertaker fan. So I'm really I was becoming a CM Punk fan at this point. I was kind of sold on him, you know, as far as being a guy who could hang with legends and stuff. Then I don't remember why Paul Heyman turned on him later in that year. I think it was 2013 at this point. And I don't know why. I don't remember. You know, maybe I wasn't paying attention. But I think I know, like, Curtis Axel was there, and Ryback is a heel, and CM Punk is beating up these guys, and then they had the CM Punk, I think, was his last really great match was against Brock Lesnar. It was SummerSlam 2013. Brock, Punk, that match was fucking awesome. And I think this, to me, well, probably some match on Raw or something like that might have been good too. But this was like the last really good CM Punk match as far as I'm concerned. Well, I guess the match with him and Daniel Bryan against the Wyatts was pretty good too. But it wasn't on the level of Brock and Punk. Like, you know, they told a really good story. Now the storyline, because SummerSlam takes precedence over everything else, they kind of started where they could have ended. Like, Heyman bringing in Punk really should have been after Punk beat up Ryback and beat up Curtis Axel. And then, you know, Heyman needs one last person to defend him, and it ends up being Brock. Which theoretically, that's what it would have been. But I don't remember it being that way. I remember, you know, Heyman turning on Punk, and then he got beat up by Brock. And then Ryback and Curtis Axel came in, and he beat up both of them guys. But he was kind of spinning his wheels at this point. You know, I think the 434 day title run was kind of it for him. Who knows where the hell he was going to go from here. He ended up being in the Royal Rumble in 2014. He lasted an hour or something like that. Got eliminated and summarily quit. And that's the history of CM Punk in the WWE. And I think that he had a pretty good career. And if I had to rate his entire run, I would say like the first couple of years were absolute zeros. Even though he won the World Heavyweight title, he won the Intercontinental title, he won tag team titles, he just had nothing. Just nothing for him. There was no personality there. There was nothing really holding. Like if he would have, he could have did all that and then disappeared and nobody would have cared. Okay, it would have been like talking about it like people talk about Cody or people talk about Ted DiBiase. Like all those guys were in that same area. None of them were allowed to show too much personality, even though they were getting the rub by fighting DX and, you know, partnering with DX and all that stuff. They were vastly overshadowed. And, you know, whenever they were put in a position to succeed, usually they just got beat. You know, they were given just enough credibility to sell probably 2 or 3 tickets before they got beat. And that was it, you know. But I think that ultimately he kind of saved his own career and with the Straight Edge Society and Straight Edge Savior and all that type of stuff. And it gave him the credibility to be able to do the pipe bomb and become a big star. And I think like the Straight Edge Savior should be looked at more closely than the pipe bomb, because the Straight Edge Savior, I think, gave him that credibility and it gave him that opportunity to be a big star in a company that really was not looking to make him a big star. But I'm still kind of, you know, some of his commentary since then, since 2014, you know, his crazy stuff with Colt Cabana and the stuff with UFC and all that type of shit. All that stuff has taken a toll on my view of his run, because I'm kind of not liking him personally right now. But at the same time, I can't take away how influential he was. Like, he was sort of one of the first really ROH guys to come in, and he kind of set the standard where you can come from a place like Ring of Honor and be a star And then he kind of opened the door for Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins and, those Zayn and Owens, whose names, Zayn and Owens, yeah, where they got to come in and be stars. But he had to take the lumps, he had to take the you're too small, and that's kind of where I think was a positive, is that he was, considered to be the best of those guys in ROH, and he made it. It took a while. He had to struggle, he had to fight, but he made it. And I think it's an inspirational story above all else. That's the good thing about the CM Punk story. It is inspirational. It is about, somebody who was legit an outsider, who was too small, who did not have the physique, but who had talent and who knew how to use it to get over, even when he was getting undercut and the company was legit working against him at times. He was legit able to get himself over and to make it work. That's to me the CM Punk legacy. What do you guys think in the comment section? Share this video, like, subscribe. Let me know if you actually remember, off the top of your head, trivia, off the top of your head, who did CM Punk lose the Intercontinental Championship to? And if you got a time and a date, you win a no prize. Let me know in the comment section. I'll talk to you guys later.